All right, so today is Friday, the 25th of April 2025. We have quite some fundamental events today, though the tradable ones will be much later today by 1:30 p.m. Earlier this morning by 7 a.m., just some minutes back, we had retail sales from the United Kingdom and it came out good for the pound. There'll be Italian bank holiday and it's going to be an all-day event. That could impact upon the euro pairs, so trade euro pairs with caution. At 9 a.m., there'll be SNB Chairman Schlegel's speech from Switzerland that could impact upon the CHF pairs. I will not encourage trading this because it's a speech. We don't have any actual, any forecast or expected actual data for it. So be careful trading it. But most importantly, it means trade with caution around the CHF pairs. But the first tradable news for the day will come up by 1:30 p.m. and that's core retail sales from Canada, which will be followed simultaneously with the retail sales. Now, I'll show you the pair I'm looking at for this particular news event. Then later today by 3 p.m., there'll be revised UOM consumer sentiment from the United States. So I'll flip over to the technicals now and we'll look at the technicals. And like I said, I'll show you the pair I'm looking at for the core retail sales that will come up by 1:30 p.m. All right, so this is my MetaTrader, and I'll start with the GBP card. That's actually the instrument I'm looking at for the card news that is coming up by 1:30 p.m. I'm bearish on the GBP card, and that means I'm anticipating that the data may come out good for the card. If the news comes out good for the card, then I expect GBP card to go bearish. So why am I looking at a bearish outlook on the GBP card? First reason is there's a descending trend line on the GBP card on the daily time frame. Prices descending downwards. So that means we should be looking for further bearish continuation on this one. It's a continuation pattern that's on the daily time frame. And also on the daily time frame, there's equally a resistance level around here, so that brings up a confluence at this point. That means at this point here, both the trend line and the resistance both meet, indicating a further bearish pressure on the GBP card. And if we flip down to the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing the formation of what looks very, very close to a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder. So we'll be looking for a further bearish breakout of the GBP card. And further confirmation will be RSI below 50, but then that will still come up later, possibly before the 1:30 p.m. when the data will be released. But the most important thing is that if the news comes out, good for CAD, that is a green outcome for the Canadian dollar, then we'll expect a bearish breakout on this GBP card. And that can lead to an opportunity to sell GBP card. So I'm bearish on the GBP card ahead of the news by 1:30 p.m. And likewise, I'm bearish on the GBP USD. Now, this one, I don't know whether it's going to trigger today or not. It's a swing setup. I've been watching it right from the beginning of the week. And, as we are ending the week today, it's getting a lot clearer that there's a potential bearish outlook on the GBP USD. GBP USD hit a resistance level, right at the beginning of this week. And we've seen a sharp decline in the price on the GBP USD. Currently, a rejection candle is forming. Now, today is very sensitive because today is Friday. If the week ends, today, Friday, and we still have this rejection candle in place, then I can tell you authoritatively that we should be expecting a massive bearish, movement on GBP card. Most likely, the major move will come up next week. But then it's possible it may be triggered right from today, all things being equal. But even if it doesn't get triggered today, definitely to be triggered next week, and we should expect a massive bearish movement GBP USD. Now, all I've said so far is based on the weekly time frame. If I flip down to the 4-hour time frame, can clearly see that JPUSD is forming a very, very good looking head and shoulder pattern, which is a further confirmation of an expected bearish breakout. So this is the shoulder. So this is the shoulder and the second shoulder. So we anticipate a breakout below this level, and we can trigger a sell. And I tell you, this is going to be a massive, very, very massive breakout. Let's check potential peep value that we could generate from this. All right, so if price breaks out below that's Fibonacci 23.6, then it's going to target Fibonacci 38.2 at 85 pips, Fibonacci 50 at 171 pips, and Fibonacci 61.8 at about 250 pips. And you don't want to miss this. All we need is just for price to break out, and we'll have a new candle below this level and below that Fibonacci level. And we'll expect that massive bearish breakout up to the tune of about 250 pips. So watch it closely. This is a swing setup. So I'm bearish on both the GBP/USD and the GBP card. But GBP card is usually for the news this afternoon. It's equally a swing setup, but I'm putting more attention on the GBP/USD for technicals later. And thirdly, I'm also putting my attention on the New Zealand JPY. Now, this one is an intraday setup. All things being equal, we should see it possibly trigger in the course of today. Here we have a descending trend line on the on the New Zealand JPY. Sorry, apologies for that little break. So as I was saying, we have a descending trend line on the New Zealand JPY on the 1 hour. This is expected to give a further bearish movement on the New Zealand JPY. And there's also a resistance zone up there. And price is currently testing that resistance zone. This is another indication of a bearish movement on this instrument. So if we flip down to 1 hour time frame, this is what we have on 1 hour. All right, so we'll be waiting for a breakout in the course of today, on this instrument. So I'm bearish on the New Zealand JPY. This is intraday setup, so put your attention on this particular setup. And so I've given 3 setup now: GBP CAD, GBP USD, both swing. New Zealand JPY is an intraday setup, and likewise BTC USD is another instrument, though it's a crypto, which I'm looking at for today. Earlier in the week, price hit, I was like 2 days ago, price hit this resistance level. Now, but further confirmation is actually a support turned resistance level, and that gives it more strength. So price has been ranging around this level in the last 3 days. And at resistance level, we look for opportunity for reversal. So what is playing out now is I'm seeing the possibility of a double top pattern being formed, which can lead to a bearish breakout. So if price hits the neckline region here and breaks out below that neckline, then looking at placing a sell trade on BTC USD. That could happen in the course of today. And we're expecting a massive breakout on the BTC USD on 1 hour. So New Zealand JPY and BTC USD, those two are specifically for intraday traders because they're expected to break out in the course of the day on 1 hour. The GBP CAD and GBP USD are both swing setup. So let's take note of that. Finally, I'm talking about gold now. Now, gold has been of a great interest in recent times after a massive bull run that has seen price get to the highest level ever. That's $3,500 per ounce. But then there's been some kind of retracement in the last in the whole course of this week. Especially when price hits the psychological level at $3,500 per ounce of gold. Now, the week is ending with a rejection candle on the weekly time frame. So the question is, does it mean that bull run is over? Because a sharp rejection candle like this on the weekly time frame can only signify a reversal in price. So if we flip down to the daily, we don't have much, but then on 4 hour, I'm seeing what is looking a lot like a head and shoulder pattern. Now, if you remember from my analysis yesterday, I said specifically that if price breaks out below the recent high here, then we should be expecting a short-term bullish movement on gold. But if it breaks out below the neckline right here on the 4 hour, then we should expect a more sustained bearish movement. So far, price did not break out above that, resistance that I mentioned yesterday. Price got to that resistance and reversed and formed a double top pattern on 1 hour. And we've seen some bearish movements this morning, just before the analysis started. There's still a potential for price to drop lower, but then I want us to take a lot of caution around that. It's better to wait for price to break below that support zone. That can lead to a much more massive breakout on gold. So I hold the bearish outlook on gold as we anticipate price to break out below this support zone for a massive bearish breakout. So I'm bearish. And further confirmation to that is that RSI has already crossed below 50, and even MACD has crossed below 0. So gold is actually in the bearish zone as we speak, except if some big power play happens, in the market. Technically, all I'm seeing is a bearish movement on gold at the moment. So we're bearish on gold on 4 hour, we're bearish on GBP CAD on 4 hour, we're bearish on GBP USD on 4 hour, and we are bearish on New Zealand JPY on 1 hour, and we're bearish on BTC USD hour. All right, so that's going to be all from my end this morning. Maureen is asking me to check GBP JPY. For GBP JPY, it looks like the trend is bullish, but there is no entry point at the moment. So what I will advise to be done is there's a resistance here. If price hit that resistance, then there is the possibility of having a clear entry to trade reversal, because generally most of the GBP pairs are actually going bearish. So that's why you are just don't see because it looks like it's buying, you enter by what's happening to the other, pairs. Most of the GBP pairs are actually, on a downtrend. If you observe, there was a news, I think a retail sales news this morning from the United Kingdom, even though the data came out good for the pound, but then the other pairs they still have the bearish sentiment. So sometimes you can use the overall outlook of the market to also decide on some instrument. This is what I'm saying. Retail sales was released this morning and it came out good for the pound, but then GBP USD is still looking bearish and GBP CAD is still looking bearish. It's only GBP JPY that seems to have reacted to that news, and that may be just a short-term effect. Generally, if the news carries a lot of weight, the moment it came out for the pound, all the pound pairs or expected to react positively to it. So you may just give JPY that seem to react, and that can be short term. So I would not advise you just enter a buy blindly. If you had entered as at the time that news was released, fine. But now, a lot of movement has taken place already. So if you are not on a trade on the GBP JPY, I would advise to just stay out. I think I even got something clearer now on 4 hour. It's trading around a resistance level, a support rather, a support turn resistance on 4 hour. So price is just around this support turn resistance on 4 hours. So it's possible to experience a reversal. And please, today is Friday. This for everyone. Trade with a lot of caution, especially in the afternoon. Volatility may reduce, and end of the week movements, spikes may also happen. So trade with a lot of caution. And so let's go down to that GVJPY on the 15 minutes time frame. This is what I can see. If you have a resistance on the 4 hour up there, then we can flip down to the 15 minutes time frame. And this is what I'm seeing on 15 minutes. It's not really a perfect looking rising wedge, but at least even if it's a trend line alone, it's perfect. So if price is able to reverse downwards, yes, you'll be able to sell on the GBP JPY. USD JPY, all right. Now this is USD JPY on the 4 hour time frame, and price price hits a resistance level on the 4 hour. And on the 15 minutes, we're already seeing some reaction, possibly trying to reverse. But then I'm not seeing a clear entry at this point. You might just put your attention on this till maybe we'll discover a clearer entry pattern, possibly maybe a candlestick or a chart pattern. Currently, we can't draw any trend line or anything. That's not going to work, but that will take more time for price to break out the low trend line. So you may just wait and let's watch out for this. If a chart pattern will form around it, that may aid the entry. But then it's looking a lot bearish. We only need clear entry. And don't forget that you need to confirm your RSI below 50 as at the point of entry. All right, that's
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
Amen, ma. Yeah, that will be the end of the money analysis today. Do trade safe and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rotimi.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.